I hope you all can hear this music.
Island music.
This island music. I had to find something to start the podcast with, and I don't know if this is working or not. So we'll just pretend it is.
Steel drums.
Yeah.
Cue them up.
Okay. Then it abruptly stops. So hi, everybody. Welcome to Rewind and Reflect, where we believe in the universal truth that nothing happens by coincidence or mistakes. And we are here to share our life experiences on that with you. I am Deb Miller. And again, Kristen Dean's in the house. Woo-hoo-hoo.
Hi, Deb.
Hi. Kristen, if you don't all know, is my partner in crime in recovery. So Kristen was my sponsor for many, many, many years. And when I first came into the program, and then we kind of went our separate ways for a little while because silly girl over there thought she could drink safely and responsibly, being an alcoholic. But she found out the hard way that that doesn't work. So, so she's back. What are you going on, 3 years now, babe?
I just celebrated 4 years, June 9th.
Oh,
year,
4 years.
So yeah.
Excellent.
I know.
Okay.
Flew by.
That did fly by. Oof. Yes, it did fly by. So anyways, I figured since you're the co-host again with me while Sue takes her vacation, I feel like we have a lot to offer in the way of talking about our recovery and the program of AA and NA. And you know, it's very interesting that this morning I was doing my meditation and, you know, I'm practicing my channeling skills, which means that I'm honing into hearing from my higher power specific messages that I need to hear. I ask them, well, you know, what do I need to know for today? And the message that I received was, embrace your imperfections. They make you who you are. So
perfect.
I was like, oh, that is amazing. Okay. So, you know, again, everybody that knows me knows that I am not always, you know, I don't know. I just do things unintentionally that are ridiculous, but I laugh at myself, you know. So today, Sue popped on prior to us recording this because she had to get us up and running. And so she comes online and I'm like this. Now, notice right now I have my earphones in, right? Well, so they weren't in. And I was like, oh, hey. And she's like, hey. And I'm like, I can't hear you. She's like, what? She's like trying to do all the things. I'm like, I still can't hear you. And then I realized that I was plugged into the headset and she could hear me, but I couldn't hear her because I had these on. And I was like,
funny.
I'm going to embrace my imperfections. Like I forgot that I had these plugged in and I made her almost lose her mind trying to figure out why her audio wasn't working. And I just said, okay, so you know, on that subject of your imperfections, you know, we are taught in the program of recovery. For those who don't know, you know, we do steps in the program of recovery. And the first 3 are pretty much accepting that you have a problem and acknowledging that, you know, you have no control over this power and this problem, AKA alcoholism, the disease of addiction and alcoholism. We'll call it substance use disorder. And then also understanding that there's a higher power that you have to invite into your life if you're going to battle this, because it's too big for one person, right? So that's pretty much 1 through 3. I mean, it's a lot more detailed than that, but overall, it's about acceptance, admittance, and acceptance. And then step 4 comes along and it's like, bam, here comes the work. All right. And step 4 is about doing a thorough inventory on yourself, which means you got to lay down on paper like your quote unquote imperfections, your character defects, we'll call them. I don't really like that word, but it is what it is, right? So that has kept you in your disease, and that you need to acknowledge that you have them and work on getting rid of them so that you can remain sober, happy, joyous, and free. So that is, a lot of people get very nervous about step 4 because they know that at this point you're kind of taking a deep dive into what part did you play in your life turning into this crazy shit show. We'll just call it a crazy shit show. And you really have to talk about things that are very uncomfortable. And I'll give you an example, and then Kristen, I want you to chime in too on your thoughts about step 4. But one of the things that I had to look at was how my character defect of insecurity played such a huge part in many of the downfalls of my relationships, friendships, all of that, before, during, and after my recovery, because my insecurities would get my mind thinking crazy things and things that necessarily weren't true. And I would just obsess over them. And that obsession would cause me to either act out in an inappropriate way or just numb my feelings with drugs and alcohol. So I felt like this might be a good topic to talk about and kind of tell people what step 4 is all about and why it's so important that if you're in recovery, you tackle this. What are your thoughts?
I think so. Great topic, obviously. And I'm reminded that alcohol and drugs are but a symptom of a much larger picture of what, and if we think back to when we were younger, pre-drugs and alcohol, I had behaviors that, and in fact, I'm working on step 4 and 5 with my sponsee right now, so it's kind of fresh on my mind. My behaviors, and you mentioned insecurities. Oh my gosh, I think of like step 4 as like pulling our covers,
Yeah.
kind of like
exposing yourself.
Yeah.
Exposing, yeah.
Not like you did on the YouTube thing, but
oh, trust me, that was much uglier than my first step.
oh my God. Stop it. That's insecurity.
I know
Anyway.
it is. Yep. Go ahead.
But yeah, like really looking at, I came into this program, I put the cork in the jug, put the pills away, and I was filled with fear, resentment, insecurity. I had harmed people. Oof. And so talking about what causes those and paying attention to the part of self, because that's, we talk about when we look at our step 4, we talk about self, like how self-absorbed we were as active drug addicts and alcoholics. And it's true. But we talk about when our behaviors, what part of self has caused, I came in back again with a bunch of resentments, justified anger, at people and at myself, like, and I had to work on those things and come to terms with those things and forgive myself and forgive people and look at what's driving that ultimately and know the next time to nip it in the butt, like to just catch it. And I'm always a huge proponent, and we talked about this on when we were talking about the death of my mother and some of the things I've chosen not to say to my father
Mhm.
about her, um, speaking up in a nice way, speaking our truth of who, how we feel, so that our feelings don't turn into um, just stuff we've pushed under the rug, and then
Mhm.
it comes out. I was a big one for passive aggressive behavior.
Mm.
I used to try to tell my ex-husband I was pissed at something, he was doing in a nice way, and it would be met with a fight. We'd have a fight. And so I'd be like, well, I'll show him, and I would do something that had to go on my harms list of, like whatever. Like, so just it's really it's I hate to say it's a scary step. Like my sponsee is really, she's hungry and she's
Yeah.
like so into that. She's like, I want to look at all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
think,
the stuff that we put down on paper shows us patterns,
yes,
and the patterns we have to break.
right. Yeah.
That's what it shows us. And without doing that and really seeing the same behavior over and over again, we don't know that that specific behavior is really driving the bus for us.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think of, so you mentioned relationships. Relationships are one of the most difficult things. That's, it's a suggestion. I mean, I don't know how many people, when I came into the program, I was in a relationship. I got out of a relationship, a year in, but like, that's why when a newcomer comes in, they say, take a year
Mhm.
and don't get involved with anybody because we got to clean up this mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Well,
but
also, let me just say one thing. This really hit home for me. Nothing will bring out our
oh,
character defects more than being in a relationship, especially a new relationship, because
amen.
you feel all the things, the good, the bad, the ugly, and as the relationship goes further and you start to get comfortable with each other and you start to be your true self, you're not ready. You're
Yeah,
just not ready to handle new relationships.
yeah,
And because you have not gotten a handle on your character defects,
right.
and it's just going to be a disaster. And vice versa, somebody who wants to date someone who's new in sobriety, red flag, warning, boop, boop, boop.
Ding,
Don't do
ding.
it. There's so much work that they need to do on themselves. You're going to end up being the target, and it's just not worth it.
One of the things my very first sponsor said to me, and again, that my first sobriety when I was 25, I was with my ex-husband when I got sober. But she and we ultimately did not survive. Many times over, we did not survive. But this was key to what went on in our relationship. And she said, sometimes relationships formed in sickness
Mhm.
do not survive health. And so true, so painfully true. Like I started to become this person could that had a voice that could take care of myself, and our pattern was such that I mentioned it before, he'd pick me up from these scrapes and dust me off and fix
Mhm.
me, fix me, fix me. And then when I didn't need fixing and I was like, hey, like that just didn't
Yeah.
gel. It wasn't. So it's important to be, I think, and I tell my sponsee this all the time. She's married. She's been married a long time. And I say, you know, I can tell you how to stay sober. I
Mhm.
cannot tell you how to stay married because I
Yeah.
have not been successful. So, um, but I can tell you what I think is the
Mhm.
right idea. But you're right, Deb. Oh my gosh, I see these people, they struggle with, I mean, think of, you're t almost 21 years sober. In
Mhm.
October, you're gonna be 21 years sober.
Mhm.
And you've been with Kevin for 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, relationships take work. there's
Well,
challenges.
yes, and on that subject, and Kevin knows this, and everybody who knows Kevin and knows me know, because everybody has said to me, like, how is this possible? Because he's a big drinker
Mm,
and I'm very sober. And I say this would never have survived if I didn't know who I was coming into this relationship.
yep.
I needed to know things that were going to trigger me and how to put up a boundary and communication and all of the things that I had to learn how to do in a healthy way. Because if I came in any times before I was able to do that for myself, there is no way. I mean,
Right.
no way. Knowing who I am and who he is, there's a lot of acceptance there. And I would never have been able to do that prior. And going back to the whole sometimes relationships that work in sickness don't work in health. I remember you telling me that because I was in a relationship with somebody before I went into rehab and then after rehab,
Mm,
my first year in sobriety. And he was the same way. He was this amazing, kind man who it felt it was his job to take care of me and, you know, enable me in a way. Not the using of drugs, but when I would
right.
get in trouble, I was getting in a lot of trouble at that point. Like he was protecting me. And then I got clean and I went to rehab and I got clean and sober. And then on the other side of that, I was going to meetings all the time. I was making new friends. I was really focused on my sobriety. And that was very difficult for him.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the relationship didn't last, but I will always be so grateful to him for
Mm,
like supporting me in my sobriety. It wasn't through no fault of his that the relationship didn't work out. It's just I became a different person.
right.
I became a
Right.
different person, and I was really figuring out who I was. And it didn't happen overnight, and it won't happen overnight. But this is what working with a sponsor does. Like every time you come across one of those character defects that is keeping you from moving forward, or like it automatically triggers a fight or whatever, that's when you talk to your sponsor and be like, okay, this happened and this is the pattern that I'm trying to break free of. And then you can get the help in the direction that you need, but you gotta at least admit that you are part of the problem.
Right. Right.
You have to admit that you're part of the problem.
There's part of the dance. There's a dance
There's
that
a
goes
dance.
on. And I like what you said about, I my ex-husband was, you know, supportive of me going to meetings. He was one of my biggest cheerleaders because he had lived with me through addiction, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Um and so he was over the moon when I finally got my sobriety piece in line. But
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't over the moon, I don't think, and through no fault of his own.
Yeah.
We didn't then mesh, and that's okay. Like
Yeah.
that's fine. It was um, you know,
Everybody picks their position in a relationship.
yeah.
And it's, one I heard this once from Kevin's aunt, who I call Auntie Sharon. She goes, there's always a gardener in a relationship and always a flower in a relationship. She's like, and
Oh,
the gardener is always the one tending to everybody and everything, and da da da. And the flower is the one that just, you know, uh, grows. And she goes, you are such the flower in this relationship with, Kevin. I said, oh my God, totally. Because I know where my talents are, and they aren't in taking control of things and
mm.
making things happen. I freeze. Like I don't like responsibility. Like I get really just, or so, but yeah, we all have play a part. We all choose the part that we want to play in every relationship that we have, even friendships.
Right. And so I think of too, like friendships, love relationships, so when we do our step 4, I'll just take an example. There's the resentment.
Oh yeah, tell everybody about the little the
The
columns that we have to
columns. So
do.
I wish
Yeah.
I should have gotten, I'll try and do it from memory, but here's the person, this is how we do it. We go, here's the person I am pissed at. Here's the
Mm-hmm.
person I have a resentment. I put that name down. Here's what happened
Mm-hmm.
and is why. Okay. And what the person did to me,
Yeah.
right? And justified anger. Um, Okay, Kristen, what part did you play in, you know, this person ticking you off?
Mm-hmm.
However, and it's usually fear-based, self-centered fear of
Mm-hmm.
losing something we want
Mm-hmm.
or something we already have,
Mm-hmm.
just insecurity. You mentioned it earlier, like insecurity, fear. And I have to go back to the podcast where we talked about my dying mother and how and blame. So
Mm-hmm.
blame was a big part this time around. My lists were shorter um, because I was out there for a shorter period of time, and I did I did a lot of drinking at home. So I really only harmed my kids and my significant other and my employer, really.
Mm-hmm.
So, my list was short, but I was angry. I was angry and mainly at myself for just being so stupid. Um, but I think back to how I used to blame my parents for all my shortcomings. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm this way because of my parents. So there's a saying in the step book, we had to drop the word blame from our vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so we look at that column where the part of me that has caused me to be ticked off at this person or these people or my former employer, whatever, is I was usually being selfish. I was being dishonest, which means not necessarily being sneaky and lying, but not speaking your truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, oh, sure, I'll take on that extra chore at work while grumbling under your breath. No, I can't do that. I'm sorry. Like I don't have time to do that.
Yeah.
Setting that boundary.
Right.
Um, Inconsiderate. Just, there's lists of the resentments we have. There's lists of the harms we have done others, what we're
Mm-hmm.
afraid of. I think there's a separate one for sexual harms because a lot
Oh
of us
yeah.
have like, oof, yeah, just mistakes that
Mm-hmm.
we've made or whatever. But yeah, and the aim is to focus then on what part of self is driving this, what part of me, because that's the only thing we can change. I can't change, you know, that my ex-boyfriend is still pissed at his ex-wife that he's been divorced from for 11 years. So I'm insecure. So why am I, getting pissed at? That's his shit. Like,
Yeah.
what's me over here, you know?
And where you are is that you're pissed because you're thinking that he still has feelings for her and that's why he
Absolutely.
can't get over it.
One
So
100%.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So that's where your insecurity comes.
insecure.
And it could be something like it had nothing to do with that, but it had to do with his thought of what a family should be like, and you should never
Yep.
divorce, you should always stay together, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yep.
But
Yep.
you automatically go to, well, clearly you still want to be married to her.
Hmm.
Look at the horse, the horse's head that I have on my shoulder.
No, that's the carnival again. How I'm
It
trying to
is.
get like
Yeah, that's what that is. But I'm going to give an example of something that, you know, my sponsor helped me with, which was you. My sponsor, which was you, helped me get through. And I wrote this in my book. I gave this as an example, but I had a very, very close friend that I had known since I was like, I don't even know, 8 years old. She was my maid of honor. She was the closest thing to me, it was like she was very much like Sue was to me as well. And but this is during a time when Sue and I weren't talking, and or I shouldn't say weren't talking, we weren't in contact with each other. Um, so she the minute she found out that I had a drug problem, I never heard from her again. And this was somebody that were raising our kids together and the whole nine yards. And I took that, I had a resentment that she would just so easily dispose of me,
Mm.
you know?
Mhm.
But the part I played in that was expecting her to understand the disease of addiction.
Right.
Why wasn't she there for me? Doesn't she know that this is not my fault? Doesn't she know that I'm in trouble and I need her? Why is she abandoning me? Well, she doesn't know anything about the disease of addiction. All she thinks is that I'm, partying my ass off and doing stupid things.
Why can't you get your shit together?
Exactly. Why
Yeah.
can't you get your shit together?
Yep.
And so, I had to be very, obviously I made an amends to her. And since then we have met in person and we're good. But that's the part that I like, because I would look at it and go, I did nothing wrong. I was the one that was in this, I was suffering in a disease and my addiction and blah, 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 da, 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 da. Why couldn't she just be a friend to me? Why did she have to abandon me? I needed help. I needed support. I didn't have anything to do. Like, what's my part in it? My part was expecting her to understand something that she had no idea about. And
Expectations are resentments waiting to happen. Like, yeah, remember that? Yeah.
yes. Oh, I love that. Expectations or resentments waiting to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Like, no
so true.
expectation. And if I'm correct, Deb, that relationship with that friend is still somewhat like, right? Like, or did you
No,
get connected?
there were two friends. One of them, we still have not made our way back to each other, and I don't think we ever will because of different reasons. But this was a different one, and she and I did meet in person, and amends were made, and you know, it's fine. We're doing great. But sometimes the damage is too great on
Agreed.
both ends of the relationship.
Yes.
It's not necessarily like what I did when I was in my disease. It's also that other person can do harm as well.
Yeah.
And for me, I really needed to clean the slate with everybody, and I took full responsibility for everything that I did. Everybody got amends, and everybody but this one person was very, kind and gracious and just
Receptive.
glad that I was healthy again. But this one person clearly had, and I know now it was not about me. She's got a lot going on in
Mm,
her life. I think I just was a soft target for her.
yeah.
So, but I have made the decision, and we can make the decision to let relationships go
Right.
that no
There are
longer are healthy for us.
there are a few people that actually, a couple, maybe three people on, my list that I cannot make amends to. It's not I cannot. It's that it would not be appropriate.
Yeah.
It would not, because, so I have an example of an amends I made last time to my very good friend Carrie, who, I'm a pill addict, and her boyfriend at the time was having a party. Now, I was probably 24, 25 years old, where I'm at this party, and she knew that I was a pill popper, and her boyfriend had pills in the kitchen cabinet. So, of course, I found them and I took a
Mhm.
whole bunch of them. And she asked me, a couple weeks later, hey, did you take some of those pills? And I was like, no, no.
No.
Well, then, no.
Why would we admit to it? I mean,
I
come
know.
on.
Well, then later, of course, I had to go back to her and be
Yeah.
like, sorry, dude, I did. She's like,
Yeah.
I mean, she's like one
They know.
of my oldest friend, like,
Yeah.
yes, but some people cannot receive us. They're
No.
too, and that's like you said, that's their, um, and that's so as a result of this big step 4 list that we make, a few steps down the road are amends, right? 8 and 9, we make our
Yeah.
list. And usually we take this step 4 list of people and it moves to our harms, moves to our list of people that we owe an amends to. And,
Hmm.
it that it's like the meat of it's like a lot of work. Like you talk
It is.
about the fellowship and the program, like, yeah, this is the work that
Yeah.
we need to do, and it ultimately keeps our side of the street clean. Like I don't, I still have shortcomings that, I still have behaviors that are not above, like the best.
Yeah.
I can be resentful, I can be sneaky, whatever, but I gotta rein it in quickly. So I don't owe any more amends. I don't
Oh, I know.
want to do that.
I know. I know. And even it becomes so such a habit as you go further along in your sobriety that like the minute, for me anyways, I'll speak about me, like the minute I say or do something that makes me feel like my stomach starts
Mm,
doing flip-flops and I know, oh shit. It has nothing to do with me using or drinking, but it's just a behavior. I immediately would say, I'm sorry, that came out wrong. I did not mean that. Like we immediately go back and I have to do a 4 step in my head. Like, okay, why did I just get so angry at that? Like, why, like what we were talking about last week with your dad, like, and me wanting to say, like, why do I feel the need to call all your mom's shortcomings out to your dad so that you already know, what her shortcomings, and he already knows it.
yeah.
So why do I feel the need to have to say it, like call him out on that, and that all goes back to my I feel like the justice needs to be made, for
Yes.
things have to have justice, but none of my business. If it's happening in my life it's one thing, but and if somebody else's it's none of my business. But I just, I really have to look at that and say, why do I have the need to make somebody, like, to verbalize. This happens a lot in relationships. It's like they did something that they know that you're not crazy about, yet
Hmm.
they still did it, and they know that and you know that they know, but you still got to say it out loud.
Yep.
You still got to say it out loud, or I do anyways. And it's like, why?
I just clam up and then I do something behind the scenes that's not, like,
That's, yeah, very passive aggressive, right? But we're not supposed to do that. So
no,
I,
it's
I need to like say, okay, this is happening. I'm feeling a certain way about it. And why am I feeling that way? And a lot of times is I feel like I want to be heard.
right.
Yet
Right. We're not heard.
we're
Like,
not, yes, but why do I need to feel that I've been heard? Okay. When I've been told, I hear you, I understand, and, you know, I'll try to do it better next time or something. But next time comes, people are human beings and we make mistakes and and so why then do I feel the need to be like,
mm,
again? So that's something that I have to look at. And that's a character defect of mine. Like sometimes you just got to let shit go.
it could be like I think of a couple things. I think of so I also visit Al-Anon
Mm,
because I have adult children that I feel the need to not control, but somewhat control. Like I gave the example last week of my son and his relationship with his father, and
Mm-hmm.
me feeling the need to insert myself and to fix that shit
Mm-hmm.
when it's not my business. And Al-Anon is, you know, again, it's alcohol is but a symptom of, you
Mm-hmm.
know, the disease of alcoholism affects all families. So I feel this need to speak. You know, Aaron, did you remember to pay your dad for your car payment? Like why?
Yeah.
Why? Shut your mouth. And like that's a control thing for me. And then oh, of course I lose my train of thought.
No, but for Al-Anon, like Al-Anon will teach you, stay in your lane
Stay
and
in your lane.
stay in your lane. And that person is on their own path and journey, and you have to watch out for yourself.
And no adult child, when I was 22, I did not want to hear from my mother what I should be doing. Or my
No,
father. You know, you
right.
really should go back to college instead of working at that restaurant. You know, like,
Hmm.
what do you know? Like, you threw me out. Like, whatever. It just,
Yeah,
my son and I don't have, we have a great relationship, but he has his own journey that I don't, you know, it's, it's stay in my lane.
yeah.
So the other example I thought of, this is an example, live time. So I am a hybrid worker. I work
Hmm.
in the office 3 days a week and home 2 days a week. Um, I have a very small team. I have a relatively new boss. I have a piece of my job that doesn't fit with my job. Like one of these things is not like the other. Remember that from like Sesame Street or Electric Company? I always
Yes, indeed.
joke with my coworkers. I'm like, so I'm a busy gal. I'm
Yep.
one person. Um, and I my new boss says, Can I take this away from, like I said to him, I'd really like this thing taken away from me and given, it looks like it belongs with this guy right here who sits next to me because he just got promoted and got a bunch of shit taken away from him and disseminated amongst all my coworkers, right? You know where this is going.
Right. No, I don't. I just laugh at saying with you saying that guy right there looks like he'd be a good fit.
He'd be a good fit. And truth be told, it's his job. Like it
Yeah.
I don't know how it ended up. I'm in charge of company cars. This is paying rent for buildings, whatever.
Yeah.
It's totally doesn't fit. But anyway, so I find out that he's gotten a bunch of shit taken away from him, disseminated amongst some of my other coworkers. So what does Kristen do? And my boss has said to me, just bear with me. I'm working on it, right? I'm
No,
very impatient.
there'll be no bearing with it. We're not bearing with it.
So I announced to my coworkers, I'm now coming in only 2 days a week.
Oh,
I just made an executive decision all by myself. Like, and I love my job, my company, like, but
yeah.
there is an example of me
Mhm.
being passive aggressive.
Yes.
Like, and I thought about that like yesterday. I've been doing this now for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, you didn't get
I
your
think I
way.
should be in the office. I'm not.
You didn't get your way. And so
Yeah,
you took your ball and you went
big
home.
baby.
Like literally, you picked up your shit and went home. Because you,
I did.
so yeah. But that's, listen, again, we're all human beings. And
Right.
I would have rather you done that than had an outright, like, total meltdown and said something that you would have regretted or
Yeah.
had to make amends for, you're still working.
Yes.
You're just at home, so,
And
oh
I'm
my God.
still doing that job that hasn't yet been taken away from
Well,
me.
you're bearing with it.
I'm very with it and it's fine. I could do it until I retire. It's no big deal. The
Yeah.
point is, let's focus on what has happened here. And the truth be told, no one in my building shows up. We're lucky if anybody shows up 1 day a week. So
Yeah.
I'm ahead of
Yeah.
the game anyway. But
Yeah.
it's just
this is life, and life is going to happen. And whether it's in work or a relationship or anything,
Right.
people you come across, like things are going to aggravate you. And I guess what the intention of this whole conversation is if we can all recognize that we have a part to play
Yeah.
in whatever disruption is happening in our life, and we recognize that, oh, I let my ego get the best of me here, or I have a resentment and this is why. And I guess I could have gone about it differently. We're not telling you to be a doormat to people. We're just
Oh,
telling you that you got to really know who you are. And we have a lot of positive things about us, but we have also things that we need to work on. We're human.
one
So,
of the things that I would a point that I love to drive home is when when we speak our truth as a human being and we put up a boundary or we tell someone we effed up, if that person truly loves us, there's they're going to forgive. I mean, it's one thing, like you said, to be a doormat if you keep hurting somebody and they're
mhm,
finally going to be like, listen, I can't take it anymore.
mhm,
But like so many times I had, and it goes back to expectations. I thought, oh, well, if I speak my truth, then this person who says they love me will be okay with that. And so, you find out who who cares, and who is going to show up if you have to say, hey, listen, I have a resentment. Like you and I, Deb, we're a good example of how our friendship shifted,
mhm,
right? And we talked a lot. You told me how you felt about
mhm,
what I had done when I started
mhm,
drinking, when I picked my relationship over, your need of just a friend when Hunter was going through his illness. Like those were things I needed to hear and you needed to say, and I needed to receive and say, holy shit, I am so sorry. I was full of self,
mhm,
you know, and because we care about each other, it worked out. You know what I
mhm.
mean? Like it wasn't like, yes, you had every right to be angry at me and you could be angry at me and we don't talk for 6 years or whatever, but when we do, it's not just like we talk about it and
Yeah,
yeah, that part sucked and this was my part and yeah, it survived. It survived because we're both working on ourselves and
right. But I think, it's important that you look at a relationship like for somebody who it might be listening to this and being like, they're trying to work on themselves, but the other person isn't. I mean, that's
mm,
always really difficult. Okay. So there's the other thing, that makes all the difference in the world is, so for me, using our friendship as an example, we worked through that. But if you were to go out again right now and start
mm,
drinking, I would go right back to where I was before. Like, I have to pick and choose people around me that really are proving to me that they are doing what they are saying that they're doing. It has to
absolutely.
be actions rather than words. And a lot of people are so good at the words, and they
Mm,
they get into somebody's head. I promise this won't happen again. I won't do this again. I love you. I want this to work, blah, 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 blah. And their actions say the exact opposite. And so I have to encourage people to to, love is an action word,
yeah,
it really is. And it has to be proven through actions. Words
walk the
are
walk.
just, yeah, not, it's so easy to say the words, but if you're really wanting to change and work on yourself, you got to do this hard work.
And
And
you'll attract healthier people just by osmosis, like
that's true. Yes.
the people in my life I can be honest with them and they accept who I am. Um, we talk about things that are meaningful. Like it's not it's not those bar stool, relationships that people talk about. Oh, my greatest friends at the bar,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you get sober, and where are those people now? Like it's who you're going to attract.
right. And
Like I
there's,
attracted not great. I mean, whatever. I hate to say that like I was just this completely because I wasn't that different. I mean, I am who I am, but
yeah,
it, it's true to yourself. You're true to yourself. So therefore, the people that come into your life are gonna mesh, like I said.
yeah. And the people that don't, a lot of people are turned off by that because
Yeah.
you can be just too real,
Yeah.
and they're not in a place where they can be that authentic,
Right.
and it scares them, and that's okay. Let
Right.
shine your light and let people come to you. They're the ones that are supposed to be there. And
Right.
the other ones are, okay, they're doing their thing too, and it's fine, so
When people come into my life now, I go, what? Like, I wonder what this message is.
mhm.
I met this young girl at a meeting last night, her very first meeting. Her therapist she was
Oh,
in therapy, and she had said to her in the session that afternoon, you need to go to an AA meeting. Here's one. Go to it tonight. And wouldn't you know, she showed up. Young
oh,
girl, like, so it just like you never know who and she seemed I may never see her again. Whatever. But I pretend like I might see her again and I talk
yeah,
to her like, you know, I would want to be received at my first meeting,
that's
just
right.
like
Yeah.
I don't know, like yeah, yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know. It's
treat others how you would want to be treated.
and like you started this meeting by talking about listening. So much, my head is always so busy. I have a hard time meditating. I'm always thinking about something. But like be quiet and listen.
Yeah.
What's the message?
What's the
Who's,
message?
my higher power talks through people.
Yeah. And a
Who's
lot of times when I'm channeling and I don't hear anything, I keep my ears and eyes open during the day because I know that something is going to come into my vision, into my world that was meant to, that was my message,
yeah.
So anyways, I know we're probably running out of time, but I just wanted to thank you for your information and sharing all of your personal stories. I mean,
Oh,
huge that you
anytime.
can just get on there, get on this forum and do that. And I'm hoping it's helping other people. I think so. I hope so.
I had somebody ask me that, like, how do you feel about sharing about your recovery? It's so personal.
Hmm.
And again, a thought-provoking question. Yes, that is very true. But I I think of it if I can help one person. Like
Yeah.
if our conversation, Deb, can help one person go, oh, I was hung up on that step four. But
Yeah.
now I feel like okay, I can do it. I can pick this person as someone to talk to about this and work through it. Like you never know whose heart you're going to reach. And so
Right.
I don't, I also too, I'm not like, I think even if I was like a political figure or something like that, like I don't, no one's looking for me. No one cares about me and whether or not I'm sober or not, or breaking the law or not. But
Well, but I also hope that if anybody's listening or watching that, is kind of curious about sobriety,
mm,
that they can see how we are, and we're not scary, and we're
yeah,
not, like, this is a lot of really cool people go or attend meetings, and
normal people.
normal people, nobody, it's much.
It's not Kool-Aid drink. We're not drinking Kool-Aid.
No, not at all. And I'm grateful that I have a roadmap that I can
Mm,
follow when I need it. And like, oof, I think I just took the wrong turn here because I'm feeling something that I don't like. And then, okay, this is why, and this is how I justify, this is how I fix it. And now I'm back on track. That's the roadmap that we get in this program.
And there are two, like, if you're not an alcoholic or an addict, I mentioned Al-Anon. There's all kinds of 12-step programs. NA, Narcotics
Yeah.
Anonymous. Like there's like the 12 steps adopted from AA are used in many
Yeah.
forums. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
know there's Gamblers Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous. There's all kinds of
Yeah.
A's.
There's even I just heard recently that there's a Buddha practice that's doing the 12 steps
Oh, no kidding.
for
Oh, wow.
Buddhism. Yeah. So anyways, just reach out to us. We're happy to help you and guide you and direct you and all that good stuff. So until
Absolutely.
next time, everybody, I love you. Namaste.
Love you
And
too.
we shall see you next week.
Bye.